Hello, my friends. If you watched the most recent video game book club on Pokemon Legends Arceus, or Arceus, or whatever, you would know that I unfortunately promised to read several Pokemon fanfictions sent in to me by someone who filled out our survey for the cameo section. If you didn't watch that video, long story short, I put out a survey asking people for their thoughts on Pokemon Legends Arceus, where they could write anything they want as long as they rated the game out of 10. And someone decided to send in many fanfictions about a ship called Submas? Submas, I think. And so I decided that would make for wonderful members content. So if you don't know what this is, which I certainly didn't, and frankly hardly do, the I'll figure it out eventually, or I won't. I'll make it up. It's a combination of Subway and Masters, and it refers to the Subway Masters in Pokemon Black and White, who were Ingo and Emmett. I've never heard of these characters, but apparently this is massively popular. It had some presence prior to Pokemon Legends, but ever since that game released, people just go crazy to the degree where there are people who are fans of these characters that have never played any of the games. Here's the part I don't understand, right? Are these guys brothers or just friends? I read a little bit of this ahead of time. So Ingo is in Pokemon Legends. He's one of the wardens, and he was sent back in time, like, vaguely remembers his partner or brother? Twins. They're twins. Twins. But it's a ship, isn't it? Maybe it's just a popular thing people like to write about. It might not be romantic. I could have been way off. Maybe it's not a ship at all. Sorry, guys. If there are any fans, I apologize for horribly botching my understanding and portrayal of these characters and relationship. I think I'm going to learn a lot today. I'm not really going to read all of this. There's a section called Controversies, which is scaring me a little. Just a whole lot of information here, but I figured it'd be more fun if I went in blind. If you're wondering, this is Emmett, and this is Ingo. Don't know anything else about him. So let's just jump right in. Our first one here, which I've just randomly selected from the list that have been provided, is titled Not Meant for This World by Bina, or Bina. It is, let's see, 10,000 words long! Oh, joy! Wonderful. They found him on a mountain, unconscious and tattered, lips blue from lying face down in powder snow. The man was delivered to the Pearl Clan in the arms of a beast and no warden. Ingo adapts. He has no choice but to adapt to his life. He's the life. He's this life. He's been handed. Even he knows there's a great deal missing for himself. So I am going to read these out loud, unfortunately. But I will try to commentate while I do so. Let's take a peek. This is what I just read. The first to spot the pair was a bare-chested, wonderful man atop a wedge of ice who immediately leapt down to take the burden of carrying a half-frozen person and ran the whole way to the settlement, shouting for Irida with Sneasler on his heels. Sneasler? I know that one. It wasn't the first time the Sneasler had rescued wayward humans from meeting unfortunate ends amidst frozen cliffs and hollow valleys, but this was the first time she had brought them a complete and utter stranger. Cool. I'm going to pause real quick. It's just occurred to me that there is a large gap under my door, and everyone in the hall can probably hear me talk, so I should probably take it. Okay, that's been addressed. Where was I? Let's start right there. It wasn't the first time Sneasler had rescued wayward humans from meeting unfortunate ends amidst frozen cliffs and hollow valleys, but this was the first time she'd brought them a complete and utter stranger. So this is, I assume, when he's sent back in time. This was no lost child of the Pearl Clan, nor any blue-clad messenger who underestimated their weather and lost their way. The coat that flapped in the wind around the stranger's limb form bore no discernible crest or recognizable pattern of any group in history. The leader of this clan was young, still shaky in her role, but leapt to action. Rescuing someone from hypothermia was a regular occurrence around these parts, and saving a life took priority over answering the questions on everybody's tongues. Almost, the entire clan poked their heads from their tents to watch the small party rush by. Not many had seen the special Sneasler up close, and here she was, dogging Garrick's heels as he carried the stranger into the clan leader's tent, and not budging from the entrance once the two humans vanished with him. It wasn't much warmer inside, but it was enough. The stoking of the wood fire stove at the back of the tent ensured his better chances. He was breathing, at least. Barely. Lips still blue, frost still dusting his unfamiliar features. This seems pretty par for the course. His coat was strange material, they noticed after pulling the wet fabric off of him. It was a wonder his hat had stayed on throughout, boots and socks and silk gloves off. Towels, applied dry blankets. I'm so confused. Let me read that one more time. The commas are really weirding me out. It was a wonder his hat stayed on throughout. Boots and socks and silk gloves off. Towels applied, dry blankets tucked around him. There we go. That's a strange sentence. Not to be critical, I'm sure this is very well written. I'm not a good writer. All they could do now was wait. They can't write, they could wait. And had hot tea ready for whenever he woke up. The stranger's hair remained frosty, even after the snow had melted from it, yet he didn't seem that old. Where do you think he came from? Garrick asked, arms crossed over his chest. A useless question asked. How was Arita to know the answer? She humored him anyway, past a stiff sigh. I don't know. I can't begin to guess either. He doesn't look like one of those galaxy folks. What do they call it? Their survey corps? They're at least, or corps? Corps usually is correct. They're at least smart enough to keep away from the Icelands. I know from experience that's not entirely true. He nudged his mentee's arm with a grin. They're not built to handle the cold like we are. She didn't smile at his jest. Neither is he. The man on his cot had lost his blue tinge to their minute relief. I don't think he'll die, at least. That's what's important for now. He took swift action. We'll have to thank you when he wakes up. I'm not the one who carried him here. And I'm not the one who found him, Garrick countered. Sneasler did. That doesn't mean we haven't contributed to saving a life. Give yourself some more credit, Arita. Oh, I see. Okay, we got it. They're just being nice. Credit didn't matter to her. Results did. As the leader of the Pearl clan, Arita carried great weight on her shoulders, especially for one so young. So I think, if I remember correctly, Arita in this case is the really kind of religious girl with like the pearls around her and stuff. This girl hadn't been leader for long enough yet to feel confident in the role, and kept her struggles and doubts to herself. Many nights she had questioned her worth, her strength, and in the safety of this very tent. In the safety of this very tent, while the rest of her clan was asleep. You're going to hear me stumble over my words a lot in this video, get ready for it. Anytime she prayed for answers or guidance, or some kind of chance to prove herself, to herself and to her people, her pleas were met with silence, her hands clenched over her folded legs as she sat by the stranger's side. Perhaps this was a ritual from the almighty Sinnoh, a test of her competence as leader. Don't you have to go back to Lord Avalug? The names are really out there, by the way. I haven't learned the pronunciations and these are real characters, but this is something I thought during the game. She tersely asked, also I've never seen that word, not taking her eyes off the unconscious stranger. He wouldn't even notice him gone. That settled their conversation. She was silently grateful to not be left alone. Not even an hour passed before the man stirred. They sprung for answers the moment he blinked into consciousness, but it became apparent after 4 or 5, 6 questions in that they weren't going to get any answers. Why? Because he was not listening? All they got was a name, murmured like a hesitant question. Ingo? Ingo. Ingo was his name-o. Anything else they tried to ask was met with a blank look. No matter how they phrased and rephrased, I don't think that was the problem. It didn't take long before mentor and mentee, horrible names, I'm sorry, I'm so caught up on that, exchanged looks, realizing they shouldn't press further. Something wasn't right in this man's head, but there was no trace of any head trauma, but the vacancy behind his eyes, the sluggish way he blinked. Either he was out in the cold for longer than they thought, or needed more time to wake up. Or something was afoot. Something deeper was afoot. Rather than stress their guest, they silently agreed to give him some space. Well, Ingo, was it? You sit back and stay warm. You're in safe hands with Arita for now. If we didn't find you out there, who knows what could happen to you. Silent, he gripped the blankets over his lap. Normally we don't take in strangers, said Arita, but you were brought here by an important Pokemon. I hate saying the word Pokemon aloud. So it just feels so goofy. I always think of, like, video games. It's taking me out of it. She wants us to help you. It's our duty to follow her wishes. Ingo's head lifted with a spark of recognition. Pokemon, brother. Yes, she cautiously said. You do know what Pokemon are, don't you? I do, yes. Why is he answering this question? I guess maybe he's just waking up still. His pale brow furrowed, something churned behind his blank eyes. Don't strain yourself, the clan leader ordered. You rest and warm yourself up. I need to speak to the rest of the clan and let them know about this. Good plan. I'll get this up to dry in the meantime. Get this up to dry. Oh, like literally dry. Garrick reached for the damn coat folded nearby. A pale arm shot out and grabbed the torn helm. It was the first they'd seen him move that quickly. There was a desperate glaze the stranger's eyes that both recognized to not test. Garrick let go to the coat with a cordial laugh. It flopped to the floor, where it slowly drawn closer by the hands, but didn't care how chilled the garment was. Hey, fine by me. Just don't cling to the thing too much or you'll get sick. And then what'll we do with you? This thing about getting cold and getting sick, I've heard it so often, I don't know. This is something I hear. Is it like a thing, really? Like a common thing? Like being wet and being cold constantly makes you sick? I don't, like everyone acts like you can be outside for 5 minutes and just die. What to do about the stranger? What a strange sentence. That became the question. As the leader of her clan, it was Rita's job to make the decision. Almighty Sinnoh, she prayed, grant her the strength to overcome this trial. With or without Arita's input, there were whispers about what to do with the outsider. Stranger, they said. He could be a spy from the Diamond Clan. Memory loss, really? Memory loss? Really? I did the Sonic Heroes thing.
Your Sonic must be really... Really? What?
Nicholas Flynn, you are weird. Wow, what an asshole. He did know how to respond to that, so he didn't. I'm guessing it's meant to be didn't. Girls seem to have enough chatter for them both. But it's okay to be weird if you came from a weird place. Someone who fell from the sky can't be normal, so it's okay. Trust the logic of a child to be bizarrely sound. It's not that sound. Why did you follow me? It's dangerous to be away from the village. Not if you have an adult. You're an adult, and everybody knows if you haven't been attacked by anything yet. And everyone knows you haven't been attacked by anything yet. Oh, okay. I thought it would be okay. True enough, she was unharmed just by following his footsteps. Ingo frowned more deeply. Your parents will be very worried about you. They always worry. I just wanted to get to ask you some things. They'd never let me do that. Curiosity from others was a fact of life for him at this point. For a child seeking out an parent with apparently no ill will. Does everybody have ill will? Ingo checked on the rocks, not the walks. A wild Pokemon prowled not far off. A Glalie. I remember a Glalie. I don't know what that is. His mind's plugged the name of. They would have to wait for it to wander away before they could head back to the clan. Hopefully it wouldn't be so long that the sun would set, and the many ghosts of land would appear in the snowfields. They had time, he decided. Alright, what do you want to ask me? The girl hopped in excitement, and his hand flew in a point to hush his lips. She settled herself instantly, her excitement continued to her eyes and flapping hands. What's your favorite food? That's what she wanted to know. Took him back. And I want to know your favorite color, and what Pokemon you think is best. Such questions. They were almost a relief to be given, compared to the accusatory interrogations he'd been subjected to so many times already. Those are easy. My favorite food is... His mouth stopped. He didn't know. Well, I make, like, many foods. Boring, that's what my mom says. What's your favorite color, then? It's... He paused. He didn't know. You must have one, and as he glanced around, he ran through his list. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. He said purple. Can't go wrong with purple. She nodded sagely. Wow, what a vocabulary on this author. That's a very good color. A flicker in his mind's eye. Purple, dancing, shimmering in the dark. It snuffed out as quickly as it had sparked. Wow. What a poetic person. Ingo's hand loosely clenched around nothing. I think I've seen very pretty purples wherever I came from. The sky has got a lot of pretty purples. The girl agreed. Mine's green, by the way, and the best Pokemon is Munchlax. So true. They're super cute and love eating anything, even what I don't like, and when I get bigger, I hope I can earn the respect of one so we can go on adventures together. An adventure with Pokemon, that's an admirable goal. His headache was starting to return more insidiously than before. It crept around the base of his skull and made promises to give him hell. But worse than that was the strange gaping emptiness behind his heart. Well, I was going to say I find that relatable, but it got a little bit darker in the back half. It wouldn't do to betray unease around a child, so Ingo swept the feeling under the proverbial rug. I think the way forward is clear. I see no obstacles in our path. Let us depart for home, Bonus, but you haven't even told me your favorite Pokemon. Later, he appeased. Later, I think I'll be able to tell you. He removed the laden basket from his shoulders and switched it to his front, then knelt down in the snow with his arms behind him. It wouldn't be kind to make a child walk all the way back when they were this far out on the icelands. It would make for better time and better stealth. Wow. All aboard, Miss Wow. Oh, there's his catchphrase, right? All aboard? The training stuff? Little Easter egg. She tilted her head, but it's just me. Ah, it's just an expression. His mouth shared automatically with his mind puzzled over the phrase. After the girl climbed onto his back, Ingo rose to his feet, gauged his own strength, and departed for home with speed, but not haste. Not sure what that means. I guess it means he wasn't desperate, but he was going quickly, but not because he needed to or anything. No, he wasn't scared. The girl's parents were furious when the outcast of the clan showed up at their home holding their daughter's hand. Ingo would have been content to tip his hat and leave it at that had the little girl not declared how he bravely escorted her all the way back from the glacier walls and didn't get spotted by a single Pokemon. That changed their tune quickly, and Ingo found himself being ushered inside for tea and a bashful gratitude. Remember his favorite food, but the tea they gave him was smooth and sweet, and quietly he adopted it, just so he would have something to say if somebody ever asked him for a favorite. That was nice. That was well written, I think. Ingo had a knack for connecting with Pokemon, more than a knack too. It was a talent the likes of which nobody had ever seen. It concerned the clan greatly when he had wandered back to the settlement with a Machoke proudly striding after him. Weeks later, he was spotted staring down a wild Gliscor. I like these words. I know Machoke. I think I know Gliscor. That's like the purple one, right? But I just can't visualize it that well, most of these guys. While out gathering ingredients for the clan, and it was too wanted to follow him home after a strange and physical altercation, claws clacking and frightening everyone who saw it until Ingo reassured them it meant no harm. They didn't want to believe them, but the way the creature rested a claw over Ingo's hat and chittered in presumed delight kept their protests on their tongues. It was hard to express their continued displeasure towards a man with such an intimidating entourage. Man, so they hated him, I guess, still. But, I mean, it seems alright, right? I mean, did they just automatically hate everybody? I mean, they hated the protagonist in the game a little bit. But they weren't this bad, I feel like, right? Because he's been here, I'm guessing, for a couple weeks now. He proved himself to be a brilliant trainer as well. Anyone who's politely asked for a battle soon found their partners knocked out with frightening efficiency. Only the most stubborn kept accepting his challenges, determined to defeat the outsider one was steered clear after experiencing thorough humbling only once. Yep. Most impressively of all, that special Sneasler adored him. This is so funny that they keep talking about the Sneasler like it's the second coming of Christ. See, she would often wander from her home in the Highlands to check on the quarry she had found and brought to her clan, and Ingo himself seemed unbothered by its fussy nature. The Sneasler was notorious picky. Selective was putting kindly, while haughty was far more apt. Some felt bitter about how quickly she took to their newcomer, while others were amused by how proud the proud beast pawed at him for attention and showed her more affectionate, spoiled colors. While the reader called for a clan meeting in the settlement's largest communal tent, many had a hunch as to what she wished to announce. It was the Mamoswine in the room. Wow. Very creative. That's great. For the clan for the weeks. It was almost a relief that their leader had called for something official. That didn't stop the backlash from firing the instant she told her people that Ingo was to be made a warden. Harsh voices clamored through the tent, fighting to be heard, saying that she couldn't, it wasn't acceptable, it wasn't fair. Why should the outsider be given such a position? Silence! Clear call rang loudest, and the uneasy clan members settled in their seats. Standing near the back against the shadowed top wall was the subject of all the protest. He remained silent and watched, and listened. Ingo has been with us for long enough, Rita continued. I don't think anyone here can deny his affinity for Pokemon. He was already an asset to our people, and has more than earned his keep. He wears their clothes, eats their food, and keeps a watchful eye on our children, just as the rest of us do. When has he ever harmed us? That's a great point. I actually don't think he has. To that, the Pro-Clan had nothing to say. Yeah, that's right, bitches. And if I must remind you, Lady Sneasler, it's so funny, has already chosen him. I did not make this decision on my own. Our treasured Pokemon has already made her choice, and it is our duty to provide the best care and protection we can as the people who worship the great almighty Sinnoh. So true. Rita allowed those swords to sink in over the small crowd. Before her people, she had to appear strong and capable, even in the face of dissent. Finally, she turned her gaze to the shadowed corner of the tent where Slim Silhouette should. Okay, shadowed, slim, and silhouette. It really, like, my brain felt like that said Slim Shady, you know? It's like, it sounds, doesn't it sound like it should? Okay, you get the point. His much sharp from under the brim of his cap. Ingo, she addressed, what say you about all this? Will you accept this responsibility I'm assigning to you? Ingo stepped back forward into the light, and stopped before he could intrude upon the neat rows of clan members seated upon their cushions. Those closest leaned away from him regardless. Several rows forward, a young girl twisted in her mother's laps with excitement on her face. Ingo caught her staring with a glance before focusing on the one he had chosen to save him back when he was frozen and knew nothing. His voice was rough but steady. Is this duty beneficial to the clan? Arita nodded firmly. For many years, too many, Our Lady Sneasler has been without a warden. She has refused to answer the call of anyone to assign to care for her. Anyone we tried to assign to care for. That's more like it. but she seems to be fond of you. It would be irresponsible of me as clan leader to ignore such an opportunity, she said with more pressure, casting a glance at the group who had the most whispers. Ingo straightened sharply, and those nearest to him jumped at the clack of his heels together. He performed a strange bow with an... Wait, hold on. He clacked his heels? He performed a strange bow with an arm swept out behind him, then I shall accept the role. The breakout of muttering did not faze him. He lifted from the bow, or bow, and kept his eyes trained straight forward. I would like to have a duty again. You and your clan have extended their hospitality to me, and if allowed, I would be more than happy to shoulder a greater responsibility for you all. The flicker of relief behind the young leader's eyes went missed by all but those who were looking for it. She's doing well, Garrick silently mused from her own spot. Hold on, this one's weird. She's doing well. Garrick silently mused from own spot out of the way. Okay, there was a typo, sorry. And he nodded his approval without a change of expression. Arita faltered a lesson us with every decision, and he was proud. If there are no other protests, rather, save that the leader proclaimed them at this moment, I designate Ingo to be our clan's newest warden. Treat Warden Ingo with the respect the position deserves. Moving on up, dude. Real quick, not click. Let me just check. Is this a one chapter? Because if this is multiple, we can finish it. We'll finish it. Not that you seem to need it, Arita spryly spoke, but every warden must carry this flute. It's a great honor to be entrusted with one. The flute was a simple hollow rod, and changed hands easily. Around Ingo's wrist was a carved wooden bangle, bestowed to him before the whole clan as part of the ceremony. I'll show you how to play the call. If Sneasler hears it, no matter where you are, she'll come to you. Every person plays it slightly differently, and Pokemon can hear the difference. She'll know when it's you playing versus me. Damn, that's pretty cool. Arita to lift the flute to her lips, cupped the end with her hand, and out whistled a trilling tune that lifted the hairs on the back of Ingo's neck. Again it played, haunting and fluttering. He had never heard anything like it before, and his attention was rapt. It's a beautiful sound, he commented when Arita lowered the instrument. You're very skilled, Rizzler. Arita cast aside the compliment. I enjoy playing it. That lends itself well to practice. Now you try. Ingo looked down at the flute in his hands. Given his current skill, it might as well be a mere holistic. Still, he gave it a shot. All that came out the end of the flute was a sad puff of air. Damn. Nobody gets it the first time, Rita said. Pinch your lips more. The speed of your breath is important. Not too fast, not too slow. Experiment until you land on what the flute means. It took 4 tries before Ingo could make anything resembling a weak whistle. Before Marita gave him an encouraging nod and took on an amused expression. You're already better than somebody else I know. Ingo lowered his flute. Who? Admin, leader of the Diamond Clan. I've heard those names before. Arita's mouth pulled into a sardonic direction. Sardonic? You're leagues above me. Bean, or whatever your name was. Good work. There isn't much to say about them, other than the fact that the so-called Sono they worship is a false one, and their leader is abysmal at the flute. Damn, no chill. Ingo offered no opinion on this, as it was not his place to act like he knew anything about this Diamond Clan. Instead, he adjusted his grasp around the precious instrument. I'll be sure to practice enough that I rise above that bar. The pinch to the young clan leader's brow eased, and was replaced with a faint smile. See to it that you do. Would you like another dimension? Demonstration? Yes, please. Whatever you'd like to play. Music wasn't rare in his suite, and the Pearl Clan having many traditional songs, and mothers happy to sing legends and lessons to the children that could heard all across the settlement, with music from a skilled flautist. Flautist? Is that correct? Did I say it right? Was always a special treat. Arita played with her eyes closed, and typical stiffness to her posture, always trying to stand taller than she really was, melted away into a graceful sway. When the clear song ended, Ingo clapped without hesitation. Bravo! Excellent. Arita stuck her weight on one leg, finally relenting to the praise. I'm going to assume bravo is a compliment. Yes, he eagerly said. It means splendidly done. You say really strange things sometimes. Strange, but not bad, Arita mused. I wouldn't think that bravo is a modern... Is that modern? Is it? It sounds almost old. But I guess it must be. Well, maybe it isn't. Maybe they just made that up. Ingo nodded somewhat pensively. They're strange to me as well. I can't recall where I learned such sayings. He hummed, stroking his beard into a smart point. My mouth seems to remember much more than my brain does. Ooh, freaky. Muscle memory, most likely, Arita said. They both knew, without needing to say, that they were lucky the clan tolerated Ingo's oddities. Wow. Tolerance was about as far as it got. Ingo's bare fingers drummed over the flute he held. A question perched on the tip of his tongue, and on a whim, cast it out. Was it difficult? He began. When Arita looked at him with a tilted head, he clarified, the decision to make me a warden of your clan. Her mouth twitched. No and yes, she sighed, and looked around them to make sure they were truly alone. Tenga, surprised, even when grown, and flopped onto the cold ground, leaning back on stiff arms with her legs stretched out atop her signature skirt-like cloth. What seemed like the obvious thing to do, too punchy for sneeze there. That was the easy part.
Those were the easy ones.
Her tongue clicked. The hard part was knowing half of her clan would protest. I don't mind what you think of me, Inga said, trying to be helpful. Arita's head rolled back, and she fixed him with a scrunched expression. It was surprisingly childish, and Inga was reminded yet again that Arita was far from being an elder figure. Raised from a young age to be fit for leadership, she recalled overhearing. Terrible burden for once a young drama queen. Well, I mind a lot. It was my choice to welcome you to our clan. How you perceive and treat it is a reflection of how well people have accepted my decision. Inga faded with the flute again, and as if second-guessing how correct it was to hold it. If I am troubling you, you're under no obligation to allow me to stay here any longer. I would respect your wishes at any time if you wanted me to leave. And what, die? She cast him a fierce look. And there's a valuable member of our clan? Inga lost hold of his words. Arita continued, I don't care what the superstitious one said. I mean, I do. I care about what all my people think, but I have to think about the good of the clan above the personal wishes of a few crabby folk. And I really think that if you prove yourself a sincere Leo. She huffed at full force and folded her arms around her knees. I just hope that I'm making the right choices. Chill. That was a strange expression to see shrouding around her shoulders. Slowly, Ingo crouched down, respectful distance away. He waited a moment, then too. It was clear Rita wasn't going to speak up out of her brooding anytime soon. He smoothed over the decimated hem of the sleeve that barely covered the wooden bangle. If you don't mind the viewpoint of an outsider. Oh, cut that. A former outsider, he amended. And I can tell you what I think. Of what? Arita warily said. What kind of leader the Pro Clan has? Arita went quiet. She doesn't prompt for more, but Ingo could tell she was listening sharply. From what I've seen and experienced myself, the leader of the Pro Clan is just and fair. She has a healthy caution, but from a desire to keep people safe. This is a little weird dude. I mean, he's being nice. There's nothing wrong with being nice. This is the way he's gone about it. It's very odd. ... She's aware of the responsibility she bears, and aware of both her present limitations as well as her potential. I think she has the willingness to strive forward, push her limits to see how far she can grow. I guess she's a kid, too. You can do silly things as a kid. This guy clearly sent her. He fixed his hat atop his head. Above all, I see someone who would do anything for the well-being of her clan, and that looks like a good leader to me. One that I'm happy to follow. He rose to his feet and dusted his pants before offering a straight arm downward. She looked startled to see his hand, and her gaze flickered between it and Ingo's encouraging face. After a moment of bare hesitation, she took his hand and let herself be pulled to her feet in one swift motion. Now please observe and correct my technique. She stared wide-eyed at this burst of energy and finally cracked a genuine smile. Slow down there. We'll start small and just try to make a sound for now. Remember what I said about airspeed? Yes, ma'am. It's occurred to me that we haven't heard at all about the twin. The second half of Submas here we've not encountered whatsoever with his task set. Just something I'm thinking about. Ingo reset his lips, minded his tongue, and puzzled over how to softly press his lungs, and he tried again. Man, oh man. It's never gonna end. A long airy tone pierced through the air and peered high on the wind. It was a call, a summons, an announcement, a warning with phantom layers of pitch strung through what he played. It rang in Ingo's ears long after he ran a breath. His clan leader's mouth moved with praise, but it didn't reach his senses. A thundering rumble approached from behind and rattled his brain. Something was coming. Something big, something long and loud with a whistling horn. It sounds like a train, like a subway. Like he's a subway master. Like Jared Fogle. A gust of wind buffeted jimmied his back, and he flinched into a hunch. His hat flew off, caught by the gust, and everything was suddenly far too quiet. Sounds muffled by snow, stillness, and peace. There was nothing around but themselves. Why had he assumed something was coming? Perhaps he was expecting Lady Sneeze there, although he didn't play anything remotely close to the necessary tune. Yes, he thought, that must have been it. Yeah, sure, dude. Definitely. His hat was offered to him. He took it, and from beneath his stiff brim he put it on. Beneath the stiff brim, as he put it on, a flexed expression peered up at him. Are you alright? Ah. Yes, sorry about that. I didn't know what I was thinking just then. Thinking, or you just closer, do you remember something, or did you remember something? I don't know. He answered honestly. I just heard a sound, song perhaps, and the start of one, just a single note. Arita hummed. Music had a magic of its own when it came to keeping the race alive. Maybe you could resurrect them as well. Maybe learning to play this flute will remind you of something. Play around with it in your own time. Watch closely if you want to memorize the call. Your hand position is important. So true. The lesson progressed without further delays, and Ingo sensed a strange lack of something important by his side. Oh, finally! An allusion to the character that we've been hearing about, or not hearing about, rather. As warden, part of his responsibility was to live near the dwelling of his ward. That meant the Cornet Highlands, windy, cold, and desolate. It was a dangerous region filled with Pokemon, toughened by the harsh environment, and Ingo silently agreed that he was one of the few people fit for the job. All full of yourself, aren't you? That was a bit of a relief to move away from the main settlement of his plan. The sharing that he was subjected to had lessened somewhat, but he sensed that his presence still made some uneasy. Getting away from them would benefit all. The Highlands were made less lonely and much safer with the company of his Pokemon. He would happily have free reign to establish a territory of sorts to discourage wild creatures from wandering near the beloved trainer's tent. Sneezer was quite smug about the new arrangement. She was a creature that liked to keep to herself, made an exception for the human she found unconscious in the snow. I kind of forgot that happened. I forgot that was the thing that happened. Was that the busiest of the village? Is that how you spell business? Yeah, because I guess if it was an I, it'd be business, wouldn't it? Isn't that something? Which the Pokemon always had. Friend bothersome. She was free to prowl around and go as much as she pleased, and settled up almost daily to pull off her attention that was screaming freely, if not idly at times. Human's minds often tripped into places she couldn't navigate herself. She took great pleasure in reminding him that he existed here and now to give him more pets to smile. She just straight up a cat. It's a big-ass cat, by the way. I don't know if you've seen that thing. It's like taller than humans. Thus, Ingo wasn't truly alone out there. Yet something still bothered him. The tiniest little snag at the fringes of his consciousness. It was similar to the awareness one had when standing next to an open doorway, that yawned a space that begged to be occupied. It was always on his right side, and Ingo caught himself leaning towards nothing enough times that the habit began to tire him. And still as he adapted to it, as he adapted to all other things this game. And still he adapted to it. How steppable. Oh, what's going on? What the hell? My fucking driver crashed? Couldn't handle peak, I guess. Where were we? That's right. Through the small ventilation high in the side of the tent, the rising sun threaded a thin beam of light. It slid lower and lower down the pale tarp until it fell perfectly across sleeping eyes. Redness soaked his vision. Through his eyelids he saw brightness and glare, incoming beams, lighting a dark tunnel that grew brighter and brighter in front of a slender silhouette that stood against the stark beams. Something was coming. He had to open his eyes. Get out of the way! Get out of the way! Very strange sentence. I was kind of confused there. I wasn't sure I was going to take it. He flew up gasping, his hands swept around the ground, desperately patting and feeling for the person he saw against the light. He had to make sure they were safe and that they were okay and that they were... Who? Who was? I guess he's thinking incoherently, so we're writing incoherently. His hands slowed their sweeps across the floor. The tent only contained one man, practically empty. It was just Ingo in there, all alone. He'd always been alone. When Ingo brushed his eyes, his fingers came away wet, his chest choked her, and his heart filled with something terribly, terribly sad. Gripped with the need for something he couldn't voice the desire for, Ingo reached for the flute that he kept by his bedside. He floated over it for a moment. His arm fell back to his side. He collapsed back in his cot, smothering his pained face without the energy to think about what or who was missing. They are brothers, right? I close the tab. We'll never know. We'll never know. What a shame. First an outsider, now a child. What is she thinking? Hush, we'll hear you. He'll hear you. Let him. I couldn't care less for that freak's opinion. This is an affront to the nobles. I'm going to speak to Arita. Maybe she'll listen to an actual experienced clanmate for once. The man made it 2 steps before a rough hand clapped over his shoulder, shockingly strong for something that appeared to mostly be bone and tendon. Very specific. The other fellow scurried away, not wanting to get caught up in any trouble when the warden had such a flinty look to his disconcerting eyes. Which complaints were you thinking of submitting about our leader's decisions? The clan meeting is already over, Ingo flatly stated. The man curled his lip at Ingo's use of our. He jerked his shoulder free and rubbed it with a grimace. You overheard me. You tell me. I genuinely cannot predict any problems you may have that hold water. You did not speak up during the meeting either. Haughty eyes narrowed. Fine. My complaint is that you and Rita designated a child to watch over Lord Cleaver, a Pokemon descended from those blessed by the almighty Sinnoh. Giving someone like you an honorable position within our clan was bad enough, but a child I should. Ah, he said, holding his chin. So it's Leon's competency you're worried about? I'm not quite sure what kid they're talking about, to be frank with you. I'm not sure if I missed something. What? No, I told you, he's too young. Youth has nothing to do with talent. I've battled Leon. Yeah, Leon's a new name. Myself many times, and can say without a doubt that he's more than capable for the job. And what's your word worth? The man spat. To you, not much I can see. Not much I can see. Not much. Not much I can see. Yeah, that's the way to say it. Warning, fixed the man with the same steady glare that had cowed or cawed. Once again, just breaking out words I don't know how to say. So many dangerous creatures before they could think about harming the clan. But Arita had personally acknowledged the boy's strength and drive. She does not make these decisions lightly. An ugly grimace twisted into a sneer. You're biased towards her because you say you can freeze me to death in the mountains. And Inga raised a brow. As someone who's benefited from her generosity, it's natural I have the motivation to speak up in her defense. But regardless of my presence here, Leanne would still have deserved this position. A venomous glare bounced off Inga's stoic face. You did not speak up during the meeting, he repeated. By that alone, you forfeited your right to complain. You took this head smartly. I depart now. My own duty calls. The purposely loud mutter, get lost and you won't be missed, fell purposefully on deaf ears. Wow, what a meanie. What a bully. The snowy foothills of Mount Cornets, I'll never know. Northern Face was subject to Inga's wanderings more and more as of late. A listlessness had grabbed hold of him, and the only way he knew how to cope was to wander. His feet took him over snow and rock, through crags and valleys, around wind-swept hills, though be dangerously blind if the sky were not densely overcast. Snowflakes piled thick on his shoulders and shortened the horizon. It felt to him he was looking for something. What he did not know. The intangible something. He had long begun to hate that vague word, something, that plagued the back of his mind ease while he was on the move. In the pockets of his coat were the handcrafted balls the Galaxy team had invented, how kind, and within those balls were his Pokemon. His clan didn't know how he acquired them, and he preferred keeping the secret for now. He knew both clans had a distaste for those Galaxy folk, kept their Pokemon contained in such ways, but something about holding the little hard spheres in his palm felt right. That's great. And his Pokemon seemed to find the balls comfortable. It certainly let them travel inside without being exposed to the growing blizzard. Ingo pulled his hat lower and lower, and drew the worn collar of his coat-taken collar higher. The wind snagged around the torn edges of the bottom hem and sleeves and whistled through the few holes that manifested in the back. It barely kept him warm nowadays, because I'm gonna fix that shit, dude. It wasn't necessary to wear it everywhere. His Proclaim garb was plenty warm enough, but still he kept the coat. It was vital to keep it on his person at all times, threadbare as it become. It was one of his most tangible connections to his past, a reminder that there was far more to him than the man he was now, and the rare times that it was out of his sight, anxiety always stirred in his heart till he found it. Strange that there hasn't been more stuff. I thought that was kind of be like Aquarium, if you want to go back and relate it to something you might have already seen. But yeah, I kind of thought we'd be addressing more of like the I'm remembering my memories thing, but not much of that. He used to belong someplace else, and he used to be someone he couldn't remember. Maybe that was why his legs kept taking him farther and farther away from his homestead in the Highlands, trying to bring him to a place he wouldn't be able to find even if he had a map of the whole world before him. For now it was time to head back home before the weather got any worse. A blast of wind cut right through his miserable coat and chilled his spine stiff. He shivered, blew into his bare hands, and hiked on through the shin-high snow. Sounds familiar? He had already turned back, but the blizzard had the head start. He could bring out any of his team to assist in breaking the snow that fell thicker and thicker over the already smooth ground, but chose not to just yet. He could make it back. No matter how far he wandered, he always made it back. The world blurred until sky and land were one indistinguishable smear of gray, or of white, really. The wind was a constant force pressing him back, and lashing against every exposed bit of skin it could slice. The man trudged and lost a straight line. He had relied on his internal sense of direction, or make us from here on out. If only he had a nose pass, he wryly mused. That means something. Are they like compasses? Do their noses always point north? Couldn't tell you. That doesn't make much sense because in the back one, he rarely mused. I'm trying to think about it. The growing burn in his extremities. White, so much white. He screwed his eyes and his lips to make sense of his surroundings, but all there were All there was were smears and swirls of white upon white. The snow whipping through every direction was almost entrancing. A flicker of something that wasn't snow caused attention. To confirm it wasn't his imagination, Ingo squeezed his eyes shut hard enough to melt the frost upon his lashes and squinted harder through the sheets of frenzied snow. There it was again, freezing within the freezing limbo, a flicker of real color. Something flapping in the harsh winds like a banner, a cloth, something red and white. A name he didn't know lodged in his throat. It begged to be released, but he could not be voiced. He didn't know what sound he wanted to make. His cracked lips parted, and the freezing wind swept through his mouth and stole the familiarity from his tongue. He took a step forward towards the fluttering shape. It vanished out of sight over a hill, and he broke into a clumsy run after it. The snow clogged his pursuit, and his lungs burned from the theft of their warmth, snatched from every ragged breath. Closer, closer. He had to reach him. No matter how stiff his legs became or how numb his hands, the back of his mind felt on the verge of cracking like an egg. Answers of a lifelong lost on the brink of being born again. On the edges of the gale, he swore he heard a voice. The figure darted from the furthest edges of his sight, and he redoubled his efforts to catch up to them. So we're talking about a red and white banner. Well, he's a pretty red and white guy, isn't he? That's probably what we're talking about. Not a banner, it's his coat. Where were we? Yes, right here. On the edges of his gale, he swore he heard a voice. The figure darted from the furthest edges of his sight, and he redoubled his efforts to catch up to them. Wait, he called, stumbling down a deep slope. Please wait. Who are ya? Who are ya? Who are you to me? A glaring flash of yellow froze him in his place with the snow up to his hips. Why did he gain the snow or something? So resentful it shut down his body and needed the second air. That was no human. A sheer of wind clawed so strongly through his body he was forced to shield his face and clutch his hat. It shrieked in his ears and sent his coat snapping loud as thunder around him. When the wind finally slowed, lacing the edges of it was a distant, cool laughter. Ingo's arm slowly lowered from his face and he opened his eyes. The vastness of Hisui yawned before and below him. He staggered backwards with a shout. Sprays of snow from his kicking feet tumbled over the edge of the cliff and vanished, falling down and down, dissolving. So we're speaking so vaguely here, I kind of lost the plot. I don't know. I'm a little confused as to what's going on here. Is he like falling off a cliff or something? So he almost fell off the cliff. Something heavy landed on his shoulder and he jolted. It was the claw of his Gliscar, who had broken free of its ball, which he was too shocked to notice. That can happen. That large claw clamped the collar of his coat and tugged him farther within the edge of near-miss death, so he nearly went off the cliff. Didn't quite happen. He thanked it breathlessly and staggered to his feet on wobbly legs. You can go back inside, he gulped, once he was far, far away from the edge. It's too cold for you here. The Blizzard puffed itself up with a low screech, and Ingo got the sense he was being mocked for being a hypocrite. All right, he reluctantly eased, but we'll have to hurry back. That appeased it plenty enough. He cast a final look over his shoulders, left the cliff. Nothing but empty gray skies and haunting in his mind. Every sky. Haunting. His dreams that night were haunted by red and white in alternation. Yep. He slept curled on his side, clutching his tiger coat to his chest with his nose buried in the cold, damp collar. That sounds very uncomfortable. Hey, you're gonna get sick holding that cold, wet coat, or so I've heard. One day a rift tore open the sky before his very eyes. The peak of the mountain and Lady Sneezler's, it's never gonna not take me out, home bore a natural halo of sparking frenzied darkness. Not the first time I'm going to be reading the word halo this week. Watch the episode and find out. He knew it must be visible across all of Hisui, knew that his clan must be in a panic, and he knew that their leader would be turned to provide reassurance and strength to the frightened, and knew that the best place for him to remain would be right here with his ward. His lady was restless ever since those first bolts of lightning struck from the rift across the land. It was his duty to remain with her. That would be how he served his clan best. That was what he did, until Arita suddenly bade him to assist a strange girl. Trusting a stranger had paid off once before, Arita told him, smile barely present, and that she was ready to try it again, for the sake of calming their beloved nobles. Who was he to decline such a request? The girl from the rift brought back strange flickers, her cadence of speaking, mastery of Pokemon, a thrill of their battle that he couldn't resist instigating, all that tugged at something. So this is our protagonist, I assume. From the game, not the book. I think we've met our protagonist from this writing. The girl from the rift, we already read all that, blah, 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 blah. The muscles on his limbs buzzed with the swift, strict motions they slept into so naturally every time he battled. He remembered more bits and more pieces thanks to her. A partner who wielded flames of mastery, dancing purple fire dangled in the air. Flames ringing the neck of the girl's Typhlosion. Let's fucking go. Typhlosion and writing. Always a good showing. had been responsible for that. He remembered the concept of trainers who lived lifelong bonds with Pokemon, who strove to become stronger together and challenge themselves at every corner. He remembered a person, no details, just there's a person. Someone who liked winning more than anyone else. Good guy. Someone who looked like him. The end of the world faded away with that instant while Ingo stared brilliantly into a wall of ice for the first time since he'd arrived there. He watched the warped reflection of the distorted sky fade to the peaceful blue, and within his eyes he searched and searched until his own face looked foreign to him. The pain has just swelled, and along with it, the frustration of not knowing the source of his feelings. He felt like a child who wasn't yet able to identify their own emotions, and with a swell of despair lost anger pain. Despair lost anger pain reminds me of Tangled Frozen Dragons. While we're on the topic of disaster, if you're aware, is it Rise of the Tangled Frozen? Leave a comment if you know what I'm talking about. In his heart, he snarled at the ice and slammed his knuckles into the unyielding surface. Pain lanced up his arm, and he paid it no mind, panting for breath like he had sprinted nonstop across the Icelands. There we go. That girl who fell from the rift, she knew exactly who she was, where she came from, the family she had, the time she inhabited, and he really had fallen from the sky, as everyone said. Why was he different? Why did she remember but not him? Who was he? Who was he? Who did he used to be? A lot of questions in this one. Had it started to matter less than who he had become? Dot, dot, dot. That was quite unnecessary. The empty space to the right of his mirror image drew his eye. There was nothing there but the strand of blue sky. Nothing there that mattered. His hand curled loose, and he swept his palm across the place his reflection inhabited. Ingo the Pearl Plane walked away, and he left that place behind, which could be like a metaphor. Like he left the left side of that place being the left side of his brother slash twin slash boyfriend, not entirely clear behind. So interesting. His clan had gradually accepted him as one of their own. He had friends there now. Not only Rita, who sought him out when she needed an understanding ear, but Leanne as well, whose younger sister was a welcome tattler at any time, eager to learn more about battle techniques from their new Munchlax companion. Garrick was excellent, cheerful company, whose wittiness and energetic antics pulled genuine laughter at Ingo every time they were together. Caliba, had intimidated him the first time he was introduced to her during his first trip down to the bogs and mires, where she resided with her ward. He knew full well her reputation for being particularly interesting to strangers. The old woman had eyed his mismatched garb with disapproval at first, then sniffed, showed the few teeth she had in a sly smile, and said that anybody who could hold his liquor at a festival enough to put Garrick under the table was already in decent graces. Wow, Riz. She taught him about the flora and native tisui, of the things that grew from the lush earth and how to make poultices. Don't know what that is. For colds and tea for relaxation. This sounds like some kind of medicine or something, right? She appreciated his lack of nonsense in her words and took solace in her many wisdoms. He sounds like he has a little nonsense. He can handle a little nonsense, I think. Through a pearl warden named Paulina, he met a man whose nerves fluttered like the surf of the coast they lived in together. Iscan was his name. They got along nicely when both were in the mood for quieter companionship, and Sneasler liked the shy man too for his excellent petting skills. Ingo's Pokemon became stronger and fiercer by his side, battling still thrilled him like nothing else could. There was no shortage of enthusiastic challengers in Hisui now that both clans and the Galaxy team began to mingle without fear of judgment. Can't go wrong with some mingling. He too found himself welcomed with open arms in Jubilife. Jubilife? Who cares? Where skilled trainers were eager for his feedback and watchful eyes on their battles. Some even called him Master. Many traveled to Jubilife just to challenge him, a fact that Zissou, just on a roll with these, the captain of Galaxy's security corps, often lamented with a jovial slap to his back that always sent him coughing and reeling. Life went on. No matter where he was in Hisui, there's a place for him, and the void of his memories just diminished as nearly made one that overlooked the gaps. That's generally a good thing, I think. I mean, not the overriding part, but he's dealing. Still throughout it all, year after continued year, the emptiness set aside never fully went away, and he learned to live with it. Are we ever going to get there? I don't think there's, if you look, I don't know, it's cut off. I think it is. My scroll bar is almost at the bottom. I swear we're almost done with this one. Not that it's been bad, but it's a long one. It was an unusually warm summer morning in the Highlands when Ingo's instincts told him to wake up. He sat up straight with a hand around the ball of his Machamp and gazed around the tent. The ball of his Machamp. I know what you're going for. Nothing. Gradually, he relaxed back to his bed, only to sit right up a minute later. He felt like something was watching him. He just couldn't pin what. It couldn't be Lady Sneasler. She was always out hunting at this hour. Bandits, perhaps? Ingo pulled on his reliable jacket, pocketed his Pokemon, donned his cap, and crept outside. Only birds sung in the breeze awaited him. He thought that maybe he was being too paranoid. A training session with his team should dissipate that feeling. Shaking his head at his own sensitive nerves, Ingo took a step forward and fell out of the world. He woke up to darkness flat on his back. Ingo pushed himself up, a hand pounding on his head. Sparks of false light danced between his eyes, and he couldn't see a single thing, so he's just tripping. So he waited and took stock of his surroundings. The air was still. Terribly still. He must be in a cave, he thought, and waited for his eyes to adjust. For a cave, is he in the future now? Yeah, he must be. For a cave, the walls are awfully smooth. The torture, well, I guess current times, not future. The torches on the wall, boxy and artificial, and the lines in the ground, parallel and vanishing in the darkness like a ladder one could climb places beyond. Ingo crawled and touched the metal with his calloused fingertips. The tracks felt dead. That wasn't right. They were supposed to hold a vivacious energy. I'm so sorry. Proud and steadfast, as they carried a brilliant machine, a marvel of engineering, eh? Hey! A panicked voice snapped him out of it. Hey, get off the tracks. That's dangerous. Of course. Safety first. What was he thinking? His sluggish body refused to move according to his command. The collar of his coat was grabbed by many hands. Before he could blink, he was yanked backwards and hauled into a platform he didn't notice behind him. Numerous legs crowded around, murmuring voices, shadows cast from light that wasn't from the sun. Jeez, man, what the hell were you thinking? How'd you even wander there? Nobody saw you walk off that. Whoa. Wait. Is that? I should have said W, that would have been better. In a unified wave of turning heads, the tiny crowd found the grubby poster that had been pinned and repinned on the palm of the station's bulletin board countless times, and retreated disbelieving looks edged with escalating shock and determination. Somebody call him. Call who? Ingo was helped to his feet as several people peeled away with rectangular devices, phones, cell phones, raised to their ear, chattering intensely and glancing at him with wide eyes. Ingo didn't have the faculties to track every voice, but two common words resounded from his ears at all sides. He's here, come quickly. His heart began, that's actually 4 words. It's actually 4 words. His heart began to pound like a wide year of hooves. I really love the, meta, it's great. Little expressions. His questions, any questions he was partway into forming fizzled and died in his throat. Don't worry, he'll arrive before long. The station's where he vanished, he's never been far. Who was he? From the edge of the hubbub, a rapid descending... Oh, I should have done. That's coming through, right? Collect closer and closer. Smart shoes. Someone in a rush, his voice growing louder, that speared right through and rooted him to the tile floor where he stood. Where is he? The voice cried. Ah, that must be the heat. Before Ingo could begin to guess, he was pushing through the rapidly thinning crowd. He was slammed into with such force that he nearly toppled over. His strong legs stabilized, then he registered the heap as being embraced. A loud sobbing filtered right into his ear. Ingo. His mind sparked. That voice was like his, but not. Well, I like that. His arms moved without thinking and wrapped around a body that felt so familiar that his hands clutched the back and forced them away so he grabbed their shoulders and looked. Head reeling, Ingo saw a mere reflection of the living face split with breathless joy. This time it didn't hurt to look at. It felt. Emmett. The name fell on his dry lips, and his eyes blurred over with tears. Ingo. His brother choked, and clutched them so close together that the little hole in his chest was filled to overflowing and spilled over the parts that had been healed or whirled away. Parts that now began to shudder and shake. He felt like he was home. He felt like he'd been taken away, brought back, ripped away, home again, lost Arita and Garrick, and Sneezer, and Liam, and Zeusline, and everyone, everything. Wow, what a strange sentence structure. I gotta understand what you were doing. The time is not a criticism, just so we're clear. It's just hard to read out loud. The tight embrace loosened, but their contact remained strong. Emmett looked him over head to toes with eyes just like his that shone with tears under the bright fluorescent lights, a familiar smile that laughed that brilliant energy. Even the lightnings and shadows under Emmett's eyes matched his own. Pristine white gloves held Ingo's face and thumbed his tears away, and Emmett hiccuped with an even wider grin. Ingo, what happened to you? What are you wearing? Is that a beard? You look great with a beard. I should let mine grow too. Emmett's voice warbled with joy. Oh, we should. Oh, I'm so happy. And your Pokemon. His Pokemon. Ingo's hands flew to the still intact pockets of his coat. Relief shook into his bones when he extracted the cards, wooden balls, and set them inside. Confused days, but they were here. They were with him. They were uprooted from space and time, just like voice now. Ingo, what are those? They looked like Pokeballs. His hands shook. Before his team, his second team, his replacements, his partners, could fall from his hand. He fumbled to slip them back into his pocket, threw him swayed around him. Ingo, whoa, let's get you home. Your Pokemon will be ecstatic. Chandelure's been depressed ever since you... Oh. It's okay. It's gotta cry. See, I still am. Growl you want. Come on, it's not far. Lean on me. Remember where home is, right? He didn't answer right away. He couldn't. His brother laughed nervously and rubbed his puffy eyes. Right, Ingo? Home? Ingo licked his cracked lips and found his voice from someplace far away. Yes, he quietly said it, and let himself cling to his brother's pristine coat and feel the weight of centuries lost on his shoulders. Yep, I still remember. That was nice. I'll give you a little anonymous kudos. That was nice and fun. Gotta say, not a lot of the relationship until the end there, which is fine, but for the purpose of what I thought this was, which is to learn about the relationship, I didn't really get my answers, although I do believe they are brothers, based on the fact. The only thing that's making me question that is if you go here, I saw that they have, like they're called like gay or asexual. That might just mean the characters themselves. That might not mean their specific relationship. But oops, I didn't mean to click on whatever that is. But yeah, don't quite know. I think it's brothers. What am I? They gotta just be brothers. It's gotta be. I'm sure someone's freaky with it, but well, that was nice. Thank you again to Bina Bina. That's what it was. I called you Bean Bean earlier. Sorry for that. That seemed very well written, competent. Really fucking long though. I really hope I'm not gonna read that many more. I may read one more if they're gonna be that long because that was pretty fucking brutal. 2,000 words. That is a lot more like it. So keep searching. This is by Wayward Station. Interesting name. Where I had been exiled from Jubilife into the wilderness, unable to return until she fixes the sky. Ingo's gonna go look for her and help her. Oh, so this is actually a thing that actually happens in the game. At least partly. Alrighty. Tears ran down the ex-Survey Corps member's face as the sun dipped lower and lower towards Hisui's mountain line. With the weakened natural light waning, the already overpowering red tint of the dark sky only grew stronger. Akari sat with a small tent constructed in by the forest of the Heartwood, near Lord Clear's abode and away from Jubilife. She was holding Ember, her Kolava, tight like a teddy. I don't know what a Kolava. I'm sorry, I just don't know. Tight like a teddy bear for comfort. Tears that fell upon the fire of Pokemon's warm body sizzled quietly, but Ember did not mind. Her trainer, her partner, was visibly upset. So Ember is the Kolava. Oh, that's the second evolution of or the first one. What's that thing? Cyndaquil turns into that. That's what it is, right? Am I wrong? Am I right? It's a little like slug-looking ass. They kicked her out after everything that happened. Lost in the world at the moment she woke up on that beach, a single act of kindness had been extended her by a man who found her there. He didn't know her, and he had no reason to trust her, but he extended a chance to her anyways. Led to everything she would have asked for. Home, food, well, she probably asked for more. Would have, because if it was could have asked for it. Home, food, clothes, friends, and family is a really light list. Like, you could probably pad it out a little bit more. Not just with the town of Jubilife, but with the clans as well. It had started off as just a job for Akari, something to do in return for basic necessities, but her work for the Galaxy team began to be motivated by love over time. She loved these people who she thought loved her, and she loved that they were trying too hard to love each other. True. To unify their clans. Trying too hard to unify the clans. She was glad her work was helping them. I'm not trying to be mean. I was just trying to understand if I was missing something. Akari's heart had become attached to the people of Hisui, and to the Pokemon, and to her work. So when the sky bruised over, and Commander Kamado blamed her, a child who knew as much about what was happening as anyone else did, he painfully ripped the tethers of her heart out. God damn, you're a little dramatic there. What did she do wrong? Surely she didn't do any of the wicked things the Commander accused her of. Everyone present had defended her to some degree, but in the end, nothing came of it. The Commander exiled her with an impossible task of fixing the sky, condemning. Oh, Overwatch 2 collab with Moonlight. Where were we? Just got a notification. What did she do wrong? Wicked. Everyone present had defended her to some degree, but in the end, nothing came of it. The Commander exiled with an impossible task of fixing the sky from anyone who would help her with a heavy heart, sidling led her out of the village and into the wilderness, cut off from everyone she come to love. So she left. Cry couldn't bring herself to stray very far from Jubilife, though, and pitched her tent in the obsidian fieldlands, where the towering tree was. That's not how it is in the game. The silence of the forest always comforted her, but during this time, it took little to help. Recalling these events in her mind pushed new tears from Akari's eyes, and she wiped them on her thick sleeve, now damp from having done this several times over. But, well, you're going to get sick. If your sleeve's getting all wet and cold, you could really get sick there. Or so I've heard. Yeah, Akari didn't hate anyone for what happened. She was just confused on why things had to happen the way they did. The sun had set, leaving the wilderness tinted dark red. Akari peeked out of the small tent, gazing at the kaleidoscope patterns in the clouds with the canopy of the forest. The sky scared her. She didn't know what was happening or what was about to happen. She just wanted someone with her. It had been hours since her exile, and no one had come. She shouldn't have expected anyone to come. No one was allowed to. But she still hoped someone would, and Ember licked away a few tears from Kari's face when she stopped wiping them herself, in an attempt to comfort her. The young girl sniffed as she hugged to the cool lava tighter, burying her face in its warm fur. I always thought they were slick snails. At least she still had her Pokemon. Akari froze when she felt an Ember perk up in her arms. Was something approaching? Was a wild Pokemon stalking them? Ember indicated no aggravation, though. She did not growl. She stared between the trees into the red, hazy distance from Akari's lap. Yeah, we're like almost halfway through this, by the way, and we've not seen him yet. Akari let Ember out of her arms. Not a criticism, once again. Just, we're getting bad luck here. Taking a few cautious steps out of the tent to investigate. It took a few moments of silence for Akari to hear something far off. It sounded like her name being called. Turning her head in the direction of the sound, Ember came to her side as the young girl waited. She's not that young. She's like 17. Was she? Oh, maybe she's younger than that. Waited stiff and silent to confirm what she thought she heard. Akari, are you out here, Akari? Even at the mist he usually added before her name when addressing her, Akari knew exactly who was calling for her. Ingo, the girl sobbed. Her gloves almost gave out on her as she hurried between the trees in the direction of the warden's voice, and were following closely behind and yipping loudly. I'm here! Play the sound. Or the song. Sonic song. Play Sonic song. The moment Ingo had heard of Akari's banishment, her chest filling with ice. Accusing a child of conducting grand plan to throw the world in chaos, Kamado had been in that office of his for way too long. Ingo always thought she was somehow connected to the gaping rip in the atmosphere. Sorry, I don't know why I said it that way. I don't know why I did that. Above the mountain, and wondered if he was too, by chance. And when the sky blistered and the gash in the heavens deepened, wow, interesting. The idea of it being Akari's fault never entered his mind, and if it did, it would have been laughable, if not aggravating, alright? It quickly became the latter when the word spread of what Kamado had ordered. Ingo had suspected something bad had happened when Arita returned to the Pearl-Clan settlement, visibly upset and calling for a meeting. Starting off the meeting with Akari's exile was not the best idea on Arita's part, though Ingo was already gone before she could explain that. For the sake of relations, assistance, or involvement from either clans was prohibited. Ingo knew better to go to he knew better to go to Jubilee? Or he knew better than go to... Okay, it doesn't really matter. The village liked to group him and the child together when it came to matters of earth and the sky, and why wouldn't they? He'd appeared out of nowhere one day, just like her, if he were the same to the people of Hisui. Ingo had heard Arita explain Kamado had tried to jail Akari. And it took a severe amount of backlash for him to lessen it to an exile. Is it really that much better, though? I think you'd rather be in jail than exiled, because there's, like, no settlements to live in this universe, right? Although I guess it ends up working out, so... if Ingo had presumed the Jubilife now, he would be in prison. So the warden immediately started coming through the wilderness, far from Jubilife, slowly making his way closer as he continually found no trace of her. It had been hours into his search by now, and he found himself nearing the obsidian fieldlands, namely the Heartwood, having repeatedly called out to receive no answer. He had been calling for her over the hours, not over an hour, over the hours. I see, that sounds confusing. And even though he had a strong voice, it was starting to grow hoarse. The sun had gone down, leaving the land in red, and the monumental tree that Lord Cleaver called its home towered above the rest of the forest like a dormant giant. Now, if you wonder where I got caught up there, I saw that they used "it is home." Just gonna give you some shit for that. None of his Pokemon had returned to him yet. We got it. None of his Pokemon had returned to him yet, and he counted that as both good and bad news. The warden had sent them all out in search of Akari, and Ingo wanted nothing more than for one of his Pokemon to return. Akari in tow. But what if she was brought back hurt, or one of his Pokemon, had found her fatally injured? The warden was starting to worry himself with upsetting scenarios. Ingo told his Pokemon to return to his lodging at the Pearl-Clan settlement if they hadn't found anything by sundown, and wait for him. Man, they really listened. At this point, Ingo was wondering if finding them all back there by his return would be a better outcome. At least I see they speak English. I mean, I think they vaguely understand the idea. I guess in the anime they usually just understand what people are saying. They're just like smarter than people. Or do they don't really have a language either. They just say their own names. It's weird. What a terrible situation to have to think like this. Akari was a child. How could Kamado do this to her? Ingo's boots splashed down as he crossed the stream nearing the forest. Would Akari have possibly chosen this place as her shelter? Regardless, he was going to search the area. Safety checks involved inspecting every section thoroughly. That's why I had to call him a safety check. Akari, the warden called out again from the edge of the woods, settling a flock of sleepy starling. Or new red tree. Those are birds. I remember those ones. Are you out here? Nothing but the wind was heard, whistling lightly through the red-tinted trees. Even the Pokemon of the forest were quiet. He proceeded further in, pushing leaves and branches aside. Akari! He called once more. Ingo. The warden directed the attention to his left, towards the voice he had been waiting to hear for hours. I'm here. We're not going to do it again. Akari burst to the foliage of the forest, and Ember shortly followed, running for Ingo with tears in his eyes. Worry was replaced by profound relief in the warden's mind, and his heart filled with compassion for the side of the girl. It's interesting that they kind of told the first half of the story twice from two perspectives, although nothing really happened, to be honest. We kind of just recapped it. That's alright, though. He knelt down and opened his arms for her, and a weight buried itself in his chest. His arms wrapped tightly around his middle. Ember was jumping at Ingo's feet, excited to see him. You came for me. Muffled sobs dampened Ingo's tunics as small hands tightly gripped his coat. You came. I did as soon as I heard what happened. Ingo added as he embraced Akari, letting her cry into him as he held her. They threw me out. I did everything they wanted me to do. I was a good Survey Corps member. Why did they throw me out? Akari spilled her out to the word, and her voice cracking into the pressure. I'm not going to do forceful. They thought I made the sky like this. I didn't even know anything about it. Her own choices were made. Ingo ushered Akari, his own choice becoming misty at the sorry state of the girl. He was shaking in his arms, and if she gripped his clothes any tighter, they might have a new terror to it. Terribly wrong choices. You were not to blame. A miss. Akari pulled away from Ingo, hiccuping and wiping the tears and snot from her face with her sleeve. Disgusting! Commander Commodore told me, and I had to fix what's wrong with the sky if I ever want to come back. Akari's sobs still wrenched in Ingo's heart. Commodore was putting way too much pressure on her. She was a child. Where was his compassion, his common sense? Tears still leaked from Akari's eyes, and Ingo reached out to wipe them away. I don't want people to ever touch me. If I'm crying, don't wipe my tears. I don't want that. Please don't do that. Don't touch my eyes. We will figure something out, he promised her. Ingo had no idea how to respond from what Akari told him. To what Atari to what Akari told him. How could anyone fix this? Perhaps with time, but uncertainty was not what 2600 needed right now. What she needed was a reassurance, and he would give that to her. A small smile appeared on her tear-stained face, but Atari was still mournful. But you're not supposed to help me, she sniffed, these sobs easing into hiccups. Commander Commodore told the clans to stay away from me, or else there would be punishment. No one expressed this to me, Ingo truthfully responded. Anger flared at Commodore again. Man, I just feel like we're kind of going in circles here. Not to be rude, author, I'm sure you're a better writer than me, but it's just, I do wish we were moving a little more. He was sending this child to her death, but this will not change my tracks, miss. I'll assist you. 5200 looked down at the ground, another small choked sob escaping her, but this time it was spurred by happiness. The warden was always there for her when she needed it. Now, forgive the abrupt change, but do you have all your belongings on your person, Miss Jaguar? I'm running out of Atari consoles. Ingo questions as she stood back up, brushing the dust from her knees. I have most of my stuff back at a tent, the girl stated. A little off guard as she patted her eyes dry, the tears finally ceasing. Well, thank goodness they're dry, otherwise she could have gotten sick. As Ember made her way back to the girl's side. Excellent, let us go collect them, then we can depart from my encampment. Ingo pointed off at the forest where Lynx, that's one I don't use it, had emerged from. I have a secure base camp near Lady Sneasler's abode in the Coronet Highlands. I stay there when trips back to the Pro Clan settlement are too rough due to weather. Now you can stay there too. I'll find you there, and Lady Sneasler, once again, will enjoy your company. The night sky still bruised, dark and red, and land was so closed in a deep red hue, setting fear and creeping into every person in Pokemon's heart. Bingo driven out all the terror in. Now shit. I mean, you could probably go for like Atari Classics or whatever, right? Did they make any of this? 5200, 2600? They made some other ones, right? I don't know if I'm going to get there, though. Sorry. It's going to go back to Akari. She could not thank her warden enough for his compassion and consideration for her. That was alright. I enjoyed it. Not as much as the previous one. To be fair, this one's like a fifth as long. I would have liked a little more events in that. It was mostly summary of video game events, although I guess Ingo wasn't this nice in the first one, so that's a new element they added. Good work. Good work, Wayward Station. Solid stuff. I think I'll just pick one or two. Sorry, because I do have to cut this eventually. I have to be done with this. But we'll start with this one. Part 1. Oh, this is by Skitty Kitty. I like your name, Skitty Kitty. A life worth remembering. He ruminates on Galaxy Team's newest researcher, Emmett. Emmett's the main character. Okay, thank you for that. God, the Ingo Hanks is so good. I have another WIP form work in progress, but considering it got corrupted in the middle of me writing, is that true? Skitty Kitty, did it really get corrupted? Text files don't get corrupted very easily. Might be a bit until it's salvageable. I don't know if I believe you, Skitty. You might be telling the truth. Could be true. It's not impossible. It's just not very common. Sorry. I don't mean to pass so much judgment on you. I don't know. I mean, I've said similar things. I've gotten away with that, similar fibs before. But I don't know about that one. Thank you to my beta and bestie cultivation. Whoa. What the fuck is thanks to my beta? Is that another writing? It's a person. Well, I don't mean to pry. Arita gave him 2 days before he was... I'm sure that's some phrase on AO3 I just don't know yet. I'm sorry, but that was... Ooh. Arita gave him 2 days before he was expected to meet the Galaxy Team's researcher. Ingo knew what she expected him to do. He needed to warn Sneasler of the newcomer and get Melly to... I fucking hate Melly. To agree to let him free Electrode from its frenzy, but he couldn't find it in himself to have those needed conversations. Melly would fight him every step of the way. He would argue and say, "Mine are little stronger than anyone who's ever friend. Most of the Boston's But Ingo knew better. He knew what Pokemon in pain looked like. He had enough empathy to wince at every scream, enough humanity to want to help it. And he sounds a little fucking self-centered. I'm sorry. If Millie didn't have that, why was he even a warden? That's what I'm saying, dude. That's what I was saying. What was wrong with Demon Clan if they let somebody like him take care of such a precious noble? But that didn't truly matter, as Ingo stood on the highest peak in the Coronet Highlands. He was faced with the harsh reality. Wind whipped him in his face. There's so much wind whipping people in faces in these. As Ingo, where are we? No, his cheek burned, the freezing temperature fading to numbness. I know, it's really cold there, guys. Sneasler stood by his side, staring at the storm forming in the distance. By the end of the day, the storm would engulf them. By the end of the day, Galaxy Team's researcher would arrive. Irina hadn't given him much to work with, only a glowing review of his skills and a name. Emmett. That sounded so familiar. So right. Ingo couldn't place it. Oh, wait, it's his brother's name. Oh, what a coincidence. What a thing. I didn't even catch that. Well, look at me. I don't even know one of the guy's names, and I've been reading about it for like 2 goddamn hours. But the name didn't fit with the Pearl Diamond clan. Just like Ingo's didn't. Arita and Adaman's name were so beautiful, and Ingo's was Ingo. There were 2 sides of the same coin. 2 men dropped out of the sky and robbed of their memories. Maybe they could be friends. Emmett was lost just like him. So is Emmett going to be Emmett? Or is Emmett going to be a different guy? Probably not, because Emmett's going to be younger. Maybe they'd known each other in the world before Hisui. Maybe they'd been friends, enemies, or simply acquaintances. Maybe they were nothing to each other. Maybe they meant everything to each other. Wow. Ingo laughed at the thought. A warden of Pearl Clan and a researcher from Galaxy Team being friends? He was more likely to see an Apom learn to swim. God, that was interesting. No matter how many similarities Ingo fabricated, he would never have an answer. No memories would return to him. He'd spent years waiting for them, years creating a new Ingo. So in this one, he's been here much longer. At least I think so. Well, yeah, because there were posters of him and stuff. The other one, he was definitely only gone for a few weeks. So interesting difference here. Even if Emmett knew him, he wouldn't know the man he'd become. Oh, so he also does remember Emmett here, it seems. At least a little bit. Or at least he's speculating about Emmett a lot. He didn't know Warden Ingo, but he soon would. Emmett would meet and learn for the Electro. Or he would fail. What would Ingo do then? Would he let a man so liked him fail? Would he stay nearby to make sure he was safe? Would he stand upon these peaks and watch Emmett fail? Man, a lot of the word fail here. Would he be apathetic and uncaring to his agony? His eyes were glued to the dark clouds in the distance. Come sunset, they would overtake the sky. Oh, so it says come sunset, meaning like by the time sunset rolled around. I thought he was just like, being dramatic. Like come sunset. It was very, very dramatic. Or he would fail. Oh God, why'd I jump back to the fail thing? I don't want to read that again. In just a few hours, Emmett would need his help climbing the mountain. He would need to get Sneasler's blessing to deal with whatever Melly had planned. Emmett would be busy, but Ingo had a choice. He could care, or he could walk away. He could ask Sneasler to stay with him on top of the Temple of Senna. No one would bother him there. Maybe if he prayed there, he'd remember his past life. Well, dude, you've been here for years. I don't think it's going to change now. Just going to throw that out. He would probably remember his ambitions, his friends, his enemies. Remember his childhood. He was racked with questions. What had created the person Ingo became? What did the house he'd grown up with look like? Did he have his mother's eyes? Did he have siblings? Was he loved? Was he missed? Not a criticism, but something I've noticed is that this author quite likes their talks. From all you had is a flicker of a memory, a flame, faint but strong. It was small as a candle, but he knew it was as powerful as Arcanines. So Adam gave me shit for this. I think he was bullshitting. It's not Arcanine, right? Surely it's not. It's Arcanine, right? Right? Flamethrower. How did he know that? I think he was fucking with me. Tucked somewhere between his memory of being Sneasel the first time and of you scolding him for wandering in a movie arena was a memory of a man in white. He couldn't remember much, but Ingo could, italics, remember his smile. It was wide and passionate. The man waved and gestured wildly. Why was that why Ingo acted like that? Why he spoke about things that didn't exist? Why his brain stuffed with metaphors and ideas no one else understood? Would Emmett understand? Did he want Emmett to understand italics? Ingo paused. Did he want italics to be alone for the rest of his life? He had been abandoned by Arita's almighty Senio. Their God, I'd forgotten to take him into account. Did he even matter to the Emitsuku? Did Emmett even matter? Italics is really funny to me. I'm sorry. I'm being a bully. Were the rampaging nobles meant to get rid of outsiders? Galaxy team and their ilk? Ilk. It's an ilk. Is that a Pokemon or is it a word? Probably a word. It's not capitalized. And Ingo and Emmett too. They didn't belong in this world, and its gods knew it. Right hits this time, good job. Maybe in another world they belonged together. They were each other's opposite in the best way, two halves of a whole. Now Ingo was cracked and broken. He was less than half. Less than a good man, less than a dead man. Holy shit, Ingo, chill. He was a sum of zero, and it could have grown to fill Ingo the whole Ingo's disappearance had left. He could be a whole person while Ingo was nothing, or they could be strangers. It wasn't like Ingo could remember. It was kind of a fun ending. So this one's sad, I guess. Because he doesn't. The thing is, it's weird. He seems to remember that Emmett is a significant name and/or person. I do like that it's left, at least as far as I could tell, ambiguous. If new Emmett is the same as his Emmett, I think it's ambiguous. I think it's not his. It's just interesting. Something interesting. That was interesting. Good work, Skitty Kitty. Do I want to read another? Well, part 2 is 5,000 words. I don't think these are connected. So I'm not going to fucking read that. You're crazy if you think that's going to happen. It's about a casino? Interesting. Maybe if you have one more short one. Well, we'll read the last one. We'll read the last one. 940. Alright, Skitty Kitty, run it back. This will be your last reading of the day. Oh, this is text. This isn't really easy to read. Well, that'll make it interesting, won't it? Alright, I'll do this so you can tell who's talking, alright? I'll be late today. Some of the eggs are starting to show signs of hatching, so I'll hand them off to a daycare. On my way. Ingo. Where are you? Ingo, please. 17, I guess that's me. 17 missed calls. Ring. Hello? Ingo. Oh, Arceus, or Arceus, or Arcus? What was the other one? You weren't answering your phone. I was very worried about you. Did something happen? You can take care of yourself. No, but... Oh, wait, who's saying this part? I'm not entirely clear. Excuse me, who are you? Ingo, this is a very bad prank. I'm not going to keep doing that. It's going to kill my throat. I'm already losing my voice from this. I'm sorry, I don't know. You have the wrong Ingo. Call ended. Duration, 17 seconds. I have to scroll, give me a second. Ingo, please, it's me, Emmett. What's going on? Please, this is a horrible prank. Leave me alone. Okay, I will. Ingo. Did you block me? Oh my god. The second you come home, I'm going to put all these baby Joltics in your bed. Well, they've not hatched yet, but they will. Please us home safe. And now we're talking to Elisa? This is Emmett talking to Elisa. Ingo blocked me. Could you ask him to unblock me? What happened? Oh, what happened? So it must be something pretty severe. I don't know. He never showed up to work and didn't answer like 20 calls. And when he does, so like, who are you? Leave me alone. He just blocks me. Was it his voice? Yes, it was him. Well, I'll give him a... sorry. It's okay. I'll give him a ring then. Alright, and now this is Ingo talking to her. Hello, my name is Elisa. Are you Ingo? Yes. It is nice to meet you, Lady Elisa. What is this about? You don't sound the same, or text the same, I guess. Did you know me? Before, I mean? Before what? Ingo, what's going on? I appeared on a mountaintop 2 years ago with no memory who was supposed to be. I've been living in history since then. His phone just suddenly turned on, it wouldn't stop buzzing. Oh, so in this one, he's actually still in the past, but he has his phone. You know what, Ingo, but not me, I think. Ingo, could you send a photo of yourself? I'll do one too. Ooh. Okay. Okay. A photo of Ingo. His face sticking most of the screen. He was squinting the screen, eyebrows furrowed and frowning. There are subtle bags under his eyes and scarlet. His cheek, his hair is blowing in the wind. Covers a large part of the screen. There's a cave opening behind him, but because of the framing of the photo, it's not possible to see what's inside. You look older. That's nice to hear. That was sarcastic. I know. Okay. A photo of Lisa. Oh, that's just me. A photo of Lisa from her torso. It's a selfie. She's smiling faintly, but she looks tired. She's out of her costume, and wearing a long sleeve like shirt. It hangs loosely on her. You look nice. What time is it? Like 1 in the morning. Just got off the runway and I was panicking because you never showed up to work. Fuck. You go, where are you? What? Why is she freaking out? Hisui? Fuck. Okay. I don't understand this change in town. I need to go figure out where that is then and then talk to Emmett and try to get you home. Do you want to go home? Do you even give a shit about me? Is this his girlfriend? About Emmett? You blocked him the first chance you got. Wait, you should unblock Emmett. Lady Elisa, you need to get some sleep. A low-powered train is a hazard on the railway. Yeah, I'll get some sleep. Night and go. I hope we can figure this out. Love you. Wait, oh, interesting. Wait a minute, where the fuck is Hisui? I don't like the way these characters talk. They talk like, I don't like it. They talk like teenagers. Language. It has mountains and sunny plains and muddy terrain. Lots of diversity. It doesn't help much. I guess I meant geographical diversity. There's a lot of diversity in the regions. Tell me about it. I haven't been to anywhere else. I have to take care of some recently hatched measles and then I'll be well, so I'll respond. Okay, excuse me. It's alright. Unova is very cold. That's where we live. It gets really windy during the summer, and it never really gets above the light jacket weather. A lot of Pokemon are adapted for the back. He's talking at this point. See if we 20 ice types near there. It's a lot of variety of like blah 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 chaos and people completely dreaming. Start catching for the summer. What is she talking about, man? Just going on. Twist is a small part of Guardian Range from its name. Or she knows it's coming. Blah, blah, blah. Jesus Christ, shut up. Dan, you're still not back? Send a photo of the sneezes next time. They can't be worse than Emma Stolfix. God lives on Big Poison. What? Oh, he's like drunk, I guess. That's odd. They're poisonous. Ow, wow. Yes, bad. I don't mean offense to you, Skitty, but I'm not in this. I'm sorry. It's just not for me. Can you get some medication? Question mark, question mark. No. Pearl too far. Ran out of steam. It'll pass. Okay, keep me updated, Will. So now this is Emmett, back in current times. Elisa, or Elisa, who fucking cares? Please, why am I still back for my brother who's still missing, and his only contact with my phone, who's blocked me. God, I fucking hate he talks. He's currently poisoned, so I don't think he's able to unlock you. What, Elisa? I'm heading to Nimbasa Gym right now. See you then, idiot. Woo-wee. Listen, you know what? I'm sure there are people who liked this because it has like almost 169 likes. Exactly 169 likes. So well done. You've made something people really like. This is so not for me. I really don't like this style of writing. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I'm earnestly reviewing these. This started as like, we're gonna be so silly and read some like cringy fan. No, this is just. The thing is, they're very low key, right? These are not like romantic or. I very much got. They're definitely brothers. That much has been made clear to me. And it's just kind of very dramatic. I don't quite know the obsession. I don't know where people. I mean, to be fair, you never know how people get obsessed with things. But with this one in particular, it's just like, I guess people just like drama. They like the trauma and the drama, and this seems to have a lot of that going on. It's an interesting concept. One of them goes back in time, then he doesn't get to see the other for a long time. They get all like sad and longy or whatever. But don't think I will be pursuing more of this in my own time. I gotta be honest with you. Although this has been a wonderful time, if I had to rate them, I would say the first one is gonna get 5 big booms. Boom, 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 boom. The second one, I'm gonna give 3.5 big booms. I don't remember how they do the half boom. I know they go boom, 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 and then they do like boom or something. They don't like stand maybe. And then this last one, I'm sure in most people's minds you would get 5 big booms, but from me, you're just gonna get boom, half, boom and a half. Okay, well, I'm not quite sure what this was, and I am now going to rewatch myself talking about fanfiction for the next 2 hours and edit it. That was absolutely fucking miserable. Never make me do this again.